There are 3 steps for programming the self: observe, analyze, and action. Observation employs such techniques that many would call mindfulness. Analyzing requires having a purpose or measure for assessing what you are observing. And action involves the planning and doing of your self-growth. Let us look at these 3 steps for self-programming in a little more detail. The first step for self-programming requires us to observe the self, to pay attention to the thoughts in your head, to notice the quality and quantity of your thoughts and behaviors over time, over days, over weeks. Identify the emotional base of your common thought patterns and the emotions driving your behavior. Are they angry or compassionate, anxious or at peace, depressed or joyful, bored or full of creative energy? Notice how you react to things of the world or situations. What thoughts they stimulate, what emotional responses are driving your reactions. Develop a picture of who you are, of the dominant emotional responses, the underlying stories, relationships that cause the thoughts running through your head, that cause your behaviors. There's no need for judgment at this stage, no need to hide from anything. Just observe yourself, that which causes the contents of your mind and behavior in operation over time. Take note of the sensory, emotional, language entity that yourself has become. There is no need for judgment in the first step because you want as clear and accurate picture as you can. For this reason, it is important to accept all knowledge into your analysis. When we start judging ourselves, it is a normal response to withdraw, to be repulsed. This can get in the way of bringing information about the self to a place whereby you are able to analyze and deal with it. While we want the first step free from judgment, the second step, analyze, is basically self-judgment. When we analyze our thoughts and behaviors, we recognize that they are windows into the self. Our unrestrained thoughts and behavior tell us who we have become. They give indication as to the emotions and stories that shape your reactions. How you react to things of the world and situations is a guide to the types of relationships you have with these things. Are your relationships repulsive or attractive, and which type of reaction is appropriate for the situation? To best analyze what you observe, you need to have a purpose underlying the exercise, such as a purpose about what kind of human you want to be and what is the nature of the emotional, conceptual forces that you want to drive you. It is easy, in the kind of world we live in, to develop certain repulsive aspects to ourself, such as those based around greed, with addictions to money, power, sex, drugs, shopping, food, and gambling being common manifestations of this. Depression, anxiety, and boredom. If there are traits of the self that are an issue, you do not set a purpose of not engaging in those thoughts or not doing that thing, having that response. Purpose is positive. You set as purpose how you want things to be, what you want your reactions to be like. Fundamentally, it is our emotional responses that are the basic mechanism for our drive, away from and toward. The problems we have are based on repulsive emotional conceptual drives, so the solution is found through the relevant, attractive, emotional, conceptual drives. If we have problems with greed, we focus on developing benevolent responses to situations. We consider benevolent thoughts and activities to do instead of greed-based ones. Anger is reduced through building compassion, anxiety through peace, depression through joy, and boredom through stimulating creativity. This is the key to self-programming, for reducing and eliminating repulsive aspects of the self. We identify the base, emotional, conceptual drives that cause our repulsive thoughts and behaviors. We identify the attractive opposite, and we plan the reactions, the thoughts and behaviors that an attractive self would produce. At the end of the day, though, health is good, so we want a self that is producing good contents of mind and behavior. You can always refer to the universal measure of quality for assessing if your common thought patterns are good. The last step for programming yourself is action. Through the analyzing step, you have been developing action plans for shaping repulsive processing traits. You have set purpose for evolving aspects of yourself that are pushing you away from others, family, friends, life, the universe as a whole. You have analyzed where you are now. You have identified where you want to be, and you have considered healthier responses, healthier contents of mind and behavior, that will lead you to where you want to be. This last step is the hardest because we forget so easily. We slip back into our old programming, repeating the same response we have spent years learning and perfecting. Part of making this last step effective is taking action to remind you to take action. This can include things like notes and reminders around the house, wearing certain clothes, rings, necklaces. Basically, you are modifying your physical world, shaping it with the intent of reminding you to action your plan for self-growth. You do this so that as you go about your day, there are obvious reminders you can't help but notice, triggers for remembering to action your self-growth now. So that is the 3 steps for self-programming, for self-growth. Observe, analyze, and action. Work out the repulsive thoughts and behaviors you want to change. Identify the emotional base of these reactions. Consider the attractive emotional opposite of what you want to change. Develop concepts, stories, practices tied to the attractive emotional base and seek to remember. While meditation is a practice for strengthening the will, mindfulness is a practice for programming the self. We use more mindfulness when observing and analyzing, but the strength of will gained through meditation is required for action. When combined this way, mindfulness and meditation are a most powerful tool which can be used to shape yourself however you want. Remember the 3 dimensions of the self: sensory, emotional, and linguistic. The self is best thought of as a collection of stories all related together. While your past experiences may have written the story of yourself to date, your experience within mind has the most profound impact on your self-development. By taking control of your mental space through meditation for strength of will and mindfulness for observation and analyzing, you can take control of your self-programming for good. There is a saying that you cannot teach old dogs new tricks, and this speaks to the fact that repetition of experience forms processing pathways. The more we do things, the more likely we become to choose that path in the future. This means that for those of us who have developed repulsive type processing that we want to change, the more that processing has become ingrained in us, the harder it is, the more effort we will need to put in to change. Our processing system is incredibly plastic, though, and with the right application of the way and will, any of us can modify repulsive, dis-ease-causing processing for good. At the end of the day, all this project can do, all a therapist or psychiatrist can do, is provide you with information with signposts that may help you find a good path to walk down. It is ultimately up to you to define exactly what path you are going to take, and it is up to you to take those steps yourself. This is the way and the will. You are inherently powerful. You will.
I saw